I'd like to call this regular board meeting to order. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the roll reflect that all members are present, excluding member Redmond and Trudell. Was the meeting properly notified?
Yes, meeting's properly noticed, and as a reminder, per policy, it's being live streamed and recorded.
Welcome visitors. Anyone for public comment today, Stacy? Okay, we'll move on to highlight on youth. High school marching band, high school band teacher Sean Conway.
The audio, do you want to plug the projector here at the HDMI?
Either one, HDMI would work. Yep. Just a second.
It is not what I can show you. Right, Langdon showed me that trick. All right. Hi. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Sean Conway. I'm the high school band director. We just wrapped up hit play rehearsal, so I was able to jolt over here quick. And I wanted to give you guys a recap on how our marching band season went this year. We have a few students here as well to come talk about their experience, so I'll have them up in a second. But one of the reasons I wanted to come talk is because kind of the way we're doing the marching band portion of band program is kind of different than what it was when I first got here. In the past, it was just kind of, we did the homecoming halftime show and then that was it. But now we're getting very much more involved, like in the marching community, performing for kind of at a lot of the things that our neighbors do, like in Baldwin and in Hudson and River Falls. We're starting to go kind of in that direction. So a little bit about how our season works. We start everything with band camp in August. We time that to line up with the Hammond Heartland Days Parade. So that's our first performance of the year. And it's a quick one. We got to get through a lot of stuff in a very short week. And it's always kind of tricky because a lot of folks are out on trips. And so we're, hitting a lot of fundamentals. We're giving kids a chance to learn the music, teach some of the basics of marching and how they should stand and look with their instruments, because you either look really bad holding a trumpet or you can look really good, and we like to try and look really good. And so that becomes that whole week. It's a whirlwind. Then we get into like the school year starting, and that's when we begin to learn our entire field show production. We learn it in stages. So if you were at the homecoming football game, you saw us march for one whole song, and then we stood still and played another one of our songs. By the end of the year, we have 3 whole songs marching and playing, and we were even able to add some choreography this year. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, we went to 4 field show performances this year, which was up 1 from our previous year. We did the festival at Baldwin Woodville. There was an event we went to in Chippewa Falls High School, so we had a little bit, one of our longer trips. There was a show in Hudson, and then kind of the peak of our season is when we perform at US Bank Stadium. So kids get to go like through the exact same tunnel that the Vikings come out of every day. They get to go on the field, and they're up on the Jumbotron and all of those cool things. And that's an awesome festival because we're one of like 40 to 50 bands that go and participate. This thing, it's kind of the Minnesota equivalent state marching band competition. So it draws a lot of groups from a whole bunch of different states. So it's a really cool experience for our students. because partially after we perform, we get to sit and watch some of these other groups that have been doing this thing for a number of years. So they get exposed to a whole variety of different things out there. And we do have a little clip of that performance instead of just talking about it. The show this year, we did, the name is kind of always interesting to come up with, but we called it Next Gen. We play a lot of pop songs for right now because the kids like them, the audience tends to like them, so we stick with those for right now, playing what people like. So it featured Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, Break My Heart by Dua Lipa, and Applause by Lady Gaga. Visual, 43 pages of drill. Drill refers to the different formations that we make on the field. So that has been something that when we were first starting out, we were doing, like my very first year, we did 3. My second year, we did 5. Our first year of doing this seriously, we're up in the 30s. And so we've been able to add more and more pages of drill ends up translating to more complexity and more rigor in the performance that they're doing. There's less standing and playing and more moving and playing at the same time. And in those moments where they were standing, we started to add some choreography. So some basic, we used a lot of basic dance terms and a lot of the things that we were doing to work with these kids. And, for right now, marching band is an optional experience for our students. Cognizant of the fact that students are involved in a lot of things outside of school, like athletics, their jobs, just need to work to help with their families at home. And so we don't require it. So everyone that's there in marching band is elected to be in it. We do have a band for students that are not in it so that they can still get a concert experience. Like Elias was in it, who's the Fall Wind Ensemble. They do a concert in October. And that's kind of the summation of that for them. Go back to our mixed groups. But some really cool things this year, we had 35 students in there. 15 were freshmen, which was a huge, awesome bounce back for us because we had a lot of graduating seniors last year. So to have that many that jumped in right away was awesome. And then 20 veteran members. One of the things that was the biggest step up for us this year, as opposed to previous years, is it was the first time we actually had back-to-back seasons. So we started everything in 2019, doing this a little bit more seriously, and then pandemic, so we weren't doing much of anything. And then, so 2021 was kind of like everyone's first year again. And so by the time we got to 2022, we had a whole bunch of kids who already had a year under their belt and just had all of this experience that, like, I'm sure they'll attest, like we were able to just start flying through stuff way faster than we ever were able to in the past. So I'm really excited to see in the years going forward how much we can continue to like accelerate and grow with just having more experience over and over again on that. And this is also our first year of having marching band seniors that have been doing this like in the uniforms we have from their freshman year. So we have our 3 seniors who are here today who will talk for a little bit. And it was also our largest drum line ever. We had our first time we had just 2 snares and a bass, and this time we had basically a full drum line, 3 basses, 2 of the quads, which are like the 5 drums right up here, and then 4 drums right up here, and then snares, 3 snares. So that helps really add a whole big punch to everything. And things that we did for this year to help us even take a step further, we were able to get Sauk Prairie High School, and just after a referendum was getting new instruments, and so they had the old ones they were selling. So we were able to almost steal new mellophones from them. So most new instruments are very expensive. We got 4 mellophones from them for $100 a piece. And that would normally probably have cost us like 12 to 13,000 to get all of those instruments brand new for 4 of those things. And thanks to a very, very generous donation by Ryan Ford's family, we're in the process of purchasing brand new drumline equipment from River Falls High School. They're upgrading their things, and we're able to get a lot of equipment from them for almost a steal of the deal there as well. I can go into numbers of that later, but we also were able to add in some student leadership opportunities. So during band camp, students got some time by themselves to basically upperclassmen or some of our section leaders, if we had assignments, and our drum majors would help teach the freshmen or lower classmen who haven't done this before some of the marching that we do and help them with their music questions and help them learn the stuff as we're going. And that was really cool to give them a chance to give back, and it helped them get more invested and help build an even tighter community within. So that was very exciting. Okay, so now I'm gonna invite up our upperclassmen to come kind of chat, tell you a little bit about stuff. You can ask them some questions, and after this, we'll show you the video. So you guys can all three come up at the same time. Sure. Okay. Let's have Caleb go first. This will be down. So tell your name, when you played, or what you did, and what year in school you were.
Hello, my name is Caleb Gruber. I'm a senior, and this year I was the drum major for the marching band, but in prior years I played the alto saxophone. And marching band was a really great experience for me. It gave me a lot of opportunities to grow and become a better leader. As a drum major, I had to do a lot of different things, help out with people and show people the ropes like the freshmen. And it was just a really great opportunity to grow as a leader. And I think people that are going into high school should definitely consider marching band. So it's a really great program that we're going to go on. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aiden Schleter. I'm a senior. I played the tuba. Freshman year, I played football, so I was really considering quitting marching band. But Mr. Conway was really accommodating, and it's one of the coolest things you can ever do, seeing all the marching bands out there and their forms, and even being a part of your own marching band and making all the forms and all that. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michael Hansen. I've been in the marching band since freshman year, and I play trombone every year. And this year I was a section leader for, co-section leader for the low brass, which, as Caleb said, was a leadership opportunity. I was able to connect with freshmen, help them train up, get the marching techniques down. And I think marching band is just it's a really challenging experience. Being on the field, you have to multitask with knowing the music, memorizing it, especially for me, and moving around and trying to do those things at the same time, especially also when you do the this year. Yeah, it's a big one. And it's really a challenge. It takes a lot of time to learn it and a lot of practice, sometimes on your own, especially to memorize music, but it always, when you're on the field in front of a show and you do the show in full, there's never a better feeling. There's never like a more bigger feeling of achievement you'll get. So I think that's a really big Boston marching band.
So we'll show you a little bit of kind of their hard work and everything that they did. So the clip that we have is from our performance at Youth in Music, which is this stadium at US Bank Stadium. And everything that you see that they do on the field, they learned from September 1st until the performance, what was this, October 8th? October 8th. So from September 1st to August 8th, or October 8th, we were able to do, this is just one of those three movements that we did. Billie Eilish.
Music is proud to present in Class A exhibition drum major Caleb Gruber and the St. Croix Central Marching Panthers.
Working on like precision of the way we stand there. So.
Oh, for any of you that know James, he is a very excited tuba player. So that's going ham with the But so yeah, that was all that stuff we learned in the first month there.
The music is proud.
Ready to do that. So just kind of a couple things that are next. Like we're really excited for turf. There were a number of times we had practice where we went out. We were ready to go start, and they were mowing, which is great. We need the field to be, or they were painting. And so knowing that they don't have to mow or paint anymore is going to be great for us. Yeah, but it ended up working out okay. One of the things that we do by design on purpose is, you know, the football field's really big and we're only 35 people. So we keep ourselves like below the front hash, so between the front hash and the audience, and then inside the 35-yard lines. And that little basically stage area for us ends up just being perfect. And we have a whole lot of room for us to do what we can. And it keeps us sounding big and full, which the audience ends up liking. And when the audience likes stuff, they clap more. So we're always aiming for that. So being able to run inside like and use the auxiliary gym, like just put blue painter's tape down and we had a football field indoors. But kind of going forward, we're looking at, you know, enjoying the kids having the strength built up that we can do this over and over again, like building on the success of this year, knowing more. So our starting spot can be just a little bit farther every year. And how that translates into more choreography and like more detail as well in what we're doing. And, you know, raising kind of the bar and on the stuff that we're doing. I'm sure you probably saw, there were probably one or two mistakes or things that stick out to you. And they stick out to us too. So we're going to continue to work on getting those things better. And one other thing that we're going to, photograph things. One other thing that's been really cool about this is we've started to have a whole bunch of kids move out, like leave from here and go off to college and stuff. And they're getting involved in their college marching bands. Right there in that picture in the bottom right, we've got Carly Hetrick and Jazzy Geiger, both SCC alums who are participating in Eau Claire's 450-person marching band, the Google marching band. And UW Oshkosh also just started their own marching band this year, and Caitlin Lent joined the color guard. And so that's something we don't necessarily have, but like kids are starting to like step out and try these things, which is awesome. And then, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we're also trying to, like, there's still things to upgrade. And I only mention this to you now because I know there are, I can talk about this at a different time. There are provisions within ESSER 3 funds that can help accommodate, it's something about like making sure students can't double up on like safety or whatever, so they don't have to share equipment. Right now at the high school, we're borrowing tubas from the middle school to meet our needs. And this year we actually had to, as a perk of being kind of involved in our community, ended up reaching out to some of our local high schools nearby to see if they had tubas that we could use. Because right now Hey, you want to demo? Sure. So this is one of the two sousaphones. Watch out for the ceiling. Maybe you heal. Doesn't help it. James, we're here. You wouldn't have to know. So this is one of the two sousaphones that we have. We have 3 tuba players in the marching band. So we've borrowed a sousaphone that falls in the middle. And this is what this sounds like. That's after spending a couple hundred to get it repaired. And then this, which might look a little junkier, is from Hudson that we borrowed. It's a convertible. They have tubas that you can use as concert tubas. So you just add a different pipe. So it can double as a concert tuba and as a performance like field tuba or pep band tuba. And just here's kind of the difference just between those two things. Oh, just as loud as you can play it. So you can hear just how even just the projection. Sorry. But yeah, so I'd be remiss if I didn't kind of advocate for my kids and like see if we could get just even get that bug in your ear to get that conversation about those ESSER 3 funds to find things for that. There are tubas out there that exist that are similar to this that do have that attachment that we could use so that we don't have to borrow instruments from our middle school, and we can still have good equipment for our kids to play on during the field shows.
Have you talked to Jen about that need yet?
I've sent a couple emails checking in, and it's I think it's just always been like a weird time of knowing when exactly it has to be. It's kind of been like have kind of your wish list ready in case this comes up.
Yeah.
And then we can keep it.
Do you have the wish list and the prices, or
I have a bit
a needs
for-
list, I guess, more than a wish? I'd call it a needs list.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have right now. I've just been like, well, the Ford donation that we received was really kind of blew up some of that because it knocked off a huge chunk of those needs really quickly. But this has been on like second right behind the percussion equipment we were able to get because of them. And I have a bid from Eckroth Music that I've gotten years ago, but I can begin getting those new bids for those things to help move that process along. But yeah, that can be ready very shortly.
Out of curiosity, what's a mellophone? I'm clueless what a mellophone is.
Oh, let's see. He's not in any of these pictures, I don't think. A mellophone is it's like, you know how trumpets are all bell front, like they point out like that. French horns are not. And so in years past, we've had like marching where they're playing, their hands are here and the sound and the bell is all going out like a normal French horn. Mellophones kind of take that and turn it into a trumpet. And so it becomes an instrument that plays like a trumpet, but it plays like French horn range that use French horn mouthpieces.
Okay.
So it's a way that those kids can actually kind of contribute. Another thing that gets towards the needs is like if you look over like right here and right here, these guys are on baritones that are also kind of like concert instruments that also kind of play straight up into the air. These that we have work and are like nowhere near the level of high priority need that tubas are, but like that's kind of just another one of those areas. But trying to be strategic about like where our focus on some of these things need to be. It does kind of become an upward climbing thing. But yeah, but I guess if you guys have any questions for like any of the kids and what they thought of their experience or anything there, that's all I have for you, I guess. They're more interested in me.
Really good job with the back end.
Thanks.
I've heard that a lot at the house.
That was a fun one. They like that one a lot.
The song or just the phrase?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
All right.
You're free.
Good job, you guys. Thank you.
All right, moving on to number 7, comments by board members and superintendent. David, you're up.
All right, moving on.
Right.
Yeah, this will be my last, board meeting. We started moving into our house. We'll be out of our other house probably. Right now, wait go in the next couple of days. That'll be it. Kind of bittersweet. Been a heck of a ride. I think we've done a lot of good. Been some trying times, but I think we've definitely persevered, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that I enjoyed my time on the board, even through the stressful times. It's been great. It's definitely something that I'm happy that I did, and I, hope that, I guess, my input has made a difference over the years. So that's about it. I had fun, and I'm not sorry at all what I did.
What year is this?
I'm wrapping up number 18.
18.
Yeah, if I carried through the April election, I would have finished 18 years.
Yep.
Long time. It doesn't seem that long ago that John Hugh and I actually ran together in 2005.
That is a long time. So I think officially you need to submit your resignation, I think per policy to Erica.
Yeah, in writing.
Well, I don't know if it's specifically writing, but probably be a good idea to send a quick email, maybe.
Post notice. Yeah, so we'll.
I'm not gonna accept it, but you can. give it to
I guess this one too.
Well, thank you for everything that you've done for us, and we'll miss you.
Thank you.
So the just wanted the board to discuss, so make sure we got it right, Kelly and I, with the procedures moving forward. Just have the board discussion on, how we proceed. So I believe the plan was Callie post it tomorrow, which is one of those copies there would be the posting. The applicants apply to Callie like they had done in the past, as to Pam. Accepting it through Wednesday, December 14th. It gives gives us time to reply back to them and tell them kind of what to expect. December 9th, I'm sorry, so that they can present on December 14th at the board meeting. So the plan would be they say, yep, I'm interested. And then Callie and I reply back and just confirm that the residents can, confirm that they can't be employees of the district. It's a basic 2 requirements. And then the question I had is I think the board went back and forth last month as to whether they were going to be provided with these questions. And then do you want them submitted in writing? Do you want them to submit them to the board by the 9th? And do you want them to read the questions here, or just say, all right, you've submitted your answer to these questions, and just give a brief, statement on, why you're interested in running for the school board? I guess those are the details. Just wanted the board to discuss. Eric and I had worked on, some of these questions we thought you might be interested in, but these are 6 of them. I don't know if 6 maybe is too many, but just wanted the board's input on these questions and the process moving forward.
You say you think 6 is too many?
I would say 4 might be the sweet spot, but I mean, it's about what you answered, right? I believe this most recent one, Dave.
Yeah.
Like-
Paper.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this is a little different. This is appointment, but
No.
Thoughts about the questions? Which ones do you want to keep, scratch? You want to have them come and read their answers or just have
And
a?
they get these before.
Mhm.
I
Do you
would.
think
I
so?
would suggest to get it before, get some thought.
Yes.
Okay. Any other thought about that? Have them the questions before and they can fill them out before
Yeah, are we going to narrow it down to 4 questions?
if you want. to.
Do you guys,
Do you want to do 4 with prior and then ask 2, 5?
that would
We could do that.
You're
Work.
gonna get a little, because you're not gonna know what that, you're gonna get a little more candid answer on some of those if you're not as.
I like that idea.
Mhm. So which two do you want to ask candidly?
Maybe the challenges and the strengths of the school district live.
Yeah. Is that 3? Number 3?
Uh,
4?
these two,
Yeah.
4 and 5. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like,
Okay.
So as soon as they apply, I'll say, all right, here's the expectation. You'll come and you'll answer a couple questions in person, but in the meantime, please answer these 4 and submit them so that we include them in the board packet for the 14th. That'll give you the,
Someone read them, then there's 2 questions.
yeah,
We've
that's,
always gone through this before, you have to make sure you get them exactly the same for every candidate. Word for word.
yep, can do that
Okay.
on the 14th. And then the board would deliberate in the open session, make the decision, and they would be seated and sworn in at the January meeting. All right.
And do you want to do voting via paper or just by hand?
I think when we do it, I personally think the paper's better because otherwise it ends up being who gets like nominated first or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like,
Paper's fine.
Okay.
So just the last,
Last time was paper.
for that reason, the first person not influencing everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if there's only one?
It's easy.
Then it's thumbs up or
We take
thumbs,
them
you
one
don't
by
have to, but
it's your name basically. Then.
Oh, yeah.
I would hope there'd be more than one, but yeah,
What if there's none?
Is
or
there-
none.
Is there a limit to how many?
I don't believe so for the appointment, this process. No,
Dave's
there's,
shoes are hard to.
there's no,
He's got big shoes to fill. Could be 2 people.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I did.
Just big, yeah, big.
and then the district will provide a nice plaque, David, in the spring. We do that just typically in the spring, so you'll have a nice plaque for tenured board members such as yourself. Get that as to hang probably over your mantle.
Put the cost of that towards the kids' lunch.
Could do that.
Appreciate
If
it,
it's
but
your
I mean,
wish.
yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go on the wall somewhere and I know what I did.
Okay, I'll talk to Jen. I know what I did.
Thank you, though.
As you get older, you may not remember though.
We'll print something off.
Okay, got it.
All right. That's good.
Prints. Black and white.
We'll just handwrite it on a post-it again, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So we're squared away with that. Everybody's comfortable with that process? Okay, registration for the 2023 WASB State Education Convention. everybody that wants to go is let Kelly know.
Kelly, who do you have in your list because you want to register them tomorrow, correct? So let maybe just confirm.
Yep, I have you, Erica, Nick. I think was Josh one of them,
Josh,
and then there's a total of 5, and
Jeff, I believe.
and Jeff. Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. Register those 5 tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 8, scheduled presentation by guests and staff members. Extracurricular assignments by the high school activities director, Brian Johnson, and middle school activities director, Chance Langness.
Right above that slide. Mr. Whitaker.
The one that you,
I just got one pager. Yep.
Or something or the dance off. Yeah, that's not it.
Yep.
When we moved to the extracurricular model, the buckets, 4 or 5 years ago, everything got put into categories, and the compensation was based on kind of Jason Cooley's work of many hours of gathering the time that was put in outside of the school day. So anytime we have adjustments made or anything, it is a board approved model. And I guess each one of those buckets to change anything needs, if the compensation changes in any way, we need to bring it to you guys. So there are 4 things here that are needing your approval. It's a wash monetarily, so we hope it's a seamless thing. And then there's another piece at the bottom that we'll kind of speak to and have maybe Shelley jump in here in a second. I don't really want to speak to the first change, Brian, with the high school.
Yeah, yep, we can. So kind of when we started digging in, and this was brought to me by Amy Hugh, who runs our yearbook at the high school. To be honest, I didn't know what her compensation was for her work with the yearbook and the amount of hours she put in both during the school day and out of the school day. And I don't know how she got placed in the current advisor or mentor role that she is for this. I think it was the $637. She works right now. She's got 24 kids in her yearbook committee. She's got 5 kids that take pictures. She organizes, it's basically $18,000 worth of ordering and pages of the yearbook. And once the final yearbook is printed, she also has to help to create with her committee the spring insert. I don't know if you guys are familiar with high school yearbooks, but when she came to me and told me where she was at in the current model, I thought that there was maybe an error, and it was my fault for just not knowing sooner that that's what she was making. But the hours that she puts in and the product that we have, particularly the increase in number of kids that work on the yearbook, the number of books that they sell, and the number of pages that they sell, in my opinion, and I think others, we would be remiss not to bump her up to the next level from mentor to advisor. And she's done a lot of work tracking her hours, both inside and outside. And I guess I don't have that one printed out tonight, but just the comparison of the yearbooks as well. There's a big difference from the middle school yearbook and elementary yearbook to the high school yearbook. So that's kind of the first one on the line.
Yeah, we can kind of speak quickly to kind of where we're balancing things out. We've talked with Shelley probably, I don't know, a month or so ago when Amy approached us. And talked with the elementary staff that there was actually 2 Amy positions at the time there. And since we've switched over to Cahill is now at the elementary and middle school level doing a lot of the prep work for us. They take the pictures that they take at open house. They create a lot of the pages for us. So our elementary staff and then our middle school single position are okay with, it makes sense when they see what the high school is, the product that is being put out compared to the time and the product that we have at the elementary middle school, for that to be a step up. So that's kind of where that balances out. The other addition right now at the middle school, our forensics is offered to students in 6th, 7th, 8th grades. And we have a position and a half, I guess is what I would say. We have an advisor that leads it, which is currently Mrs. Langman, and does a fantastic job. Mrs. Langman, and even in all of her efforts, has a hard time catching the students that are outside of her grade level. So our hope is to take the mentor position, which we've had in the past, which is currently unfilled. Person that filled that last year kind of switched entities. So our hope is to kind of up that to another advisor position and then kind of expand the work that they're able to do across the middle school and really kind of tag team the effort. Mrs. Langman wants to also speak to the work that she puts in. We kindly agree to host numerous of the forensic competitions. Mrs. Langman has politely asked other districts to step up and hasn't had anybody else raising their hands. So like we always do at Central, we said, all right, fine, we'll make it happen. I think we actually made it happen times twice. Or at least last year we did. Yeah, if you don't mind what it all entails.
So we,
Conveniently that we put you on the agenda tonight for something else as well.
so at the middle level, excuse me, there are 3 tournaments for middle school students for forensics. We host 2 out of the 3. Baldwin hosts the other one, and we've spoken with Baldwin to maybe do an alternating sort of thing because it's a lot of work to host a tournament. Excuse me. One of them is an invitational that we choose to host. It's like a practice tournament. The other one is run through the state, and so there are a lot of regulations. And we, I think last year had 9 or 10 schools that attend, and that it's all the scheduling. Students can't, it's very complicated, very involved to schedule students for forensics tournament. So it is a lot to put on one person, and to have 2 advisor positions would just make a world of difference for our program.
Beautiful, thank you. That was not a request from her. I put her on the spot. Not wanting her to panic or think about something that she had to prepare, because not at all. And it's she's not even fully going in. Sorry, go ahead. Sure.
And just I wanted to add, and for the board's reference to all these positions and all the extracurricular and athletic compensation models, they were based on hours, put in, and so they try to be fair and relative, right? And so that adjustments like this are just needed from time to time based on the number of positions, or like, okay, this position is now requiring more hours, so and that's why it's coming to the board for approval. Just wanted that for the board's reference.
And oftentimes it's people that when we originally created these models they're different people now. So the way they approach them is
Correct.
has changed. The resources that they put into it or have available to them has changed. So that is the forensics. And then to balance that out, Evan Basinski, who is Kat Brosmer's son, is continuing to run our DI program at the middle school. And I mean, we are getting a heck of a deal there because he puts in an amazing amount of work and effort into that program and has a whole slew of people that he brings in to volunteer. And that's the way he likes it. And that's the way he has made it so successful. In talking with him, that's the way he'd like it to continue moving forward. So we've had a position that is kind of just sitting unfilled because he takes it on and the people that he brings to help him are there to just volunteer. So that's that. So that's what we're hoping. I don't know if we want to pause there.
Yeah. So what's the net difference financially in the budget? What's the budget impact for that? All those changes.
$0.
Okay.
So do we need to approve that, or would you like us to talk about the portion?
Yeah, I think there's
Don't have to approve this on one, though.
no, I think that's maybe explain it and then the board can decide what they approve.
So that part that we want to include in here, and
this person I did prep to let her know that we're gonna be calling on her. The elementary school play, the fourth grade play, has a new staff member that is leading that up. Mrs. Newman has also changed entities. So the person that is now leading up the elementary school play has a different approach. So I don't know if you want to explain that. So,
Yeah, no, so, you guys can see the change from, past years when Melanie Newman came to the elementary school. Her passion and forte was drama. It's kind of where she came from. So she, after being at the elementary for a couple of years, presented and asked, to start a fourth grade play and drama program outside of school. So went with it. She did a fantastic job. We saw it for probably 4 years, I suppose, or 3 or 4 years she had it played. Our new music teacher at the elementary school is, her passion is more band related and orchestra, so she's really interested in doing something more extracurricular that way. But the grand scheme of it all is just that it was a little bit difficult with the fourth grade play because it was after school. So we're looking at more of maybe like an equal opportunity piece in the sense of, it is part of our fourth grade curriculum. It happens during the school day. We will still have and host a fourth grade school play. It will just be held during the day. And then in the evenings, invite the families and parents and all of those types of things. But maybe not quite as big of a production so that there isn't play practice. And because we used to have to shuttle all of those kids from the elementary to the high school. And then we had, as you can see, we had 4 positions, paid positions for that on top of everything else. So we would just like to maybe, she would like to maybe just downscale that just a little bit. We'll keep these, the 3184 in the bucket and we'll just hold it there for other people. Maybe something else pops up, or maybe in the future, she does want to go to some sort of an extracurricular type thing for fourth graders at the elementary. Just
Shelley, somebody might wonder, like, moving to the school time, what impact does that have on, academics or other classes, et cetera?
Good question. So everything is done during the music time. So when the fourth graders come to music during that course of time, so the play will be, I think, mid-February is when she has that. So right now, maybe starting to gear up with that curriculum, and it's just held during the music class, where a lot of it with Melanie was held during the music class, but then because it was such a big production, so much of the practice and all of that stuff happened outside of school. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So it's not going to be taken away from any other things in the classroom. Any questions about that? We just kind of wanted to inform you, and then this communication after informing you will be sent out to families tomorrow morning, so that they're aware. We don't need a board action on that one just because it's just going to stay. But I think you guys can.
All right. So we need a motion to approve extracurricular compensation model adjustments. Okay. First Dave and second David. All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carried. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Bring more net zero stuff.
Okay, so esports program technology integration specialist Dan Rude and high school counselor Travis Madigan. Welcome.
That's great.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for allowing us to speak with you tonight on a topic that many of you know nothing about. So that's going to be fantastic. We're excited. Yes, we're really excited to be in front of you tonight to talk about the potential to start a high school esports program here within the St. Croix Central School District. For many of you, if you're not aware of what esports is, it's essentially competitive video gaming. So no longer would students be in silos playing by themselves. We're now bringing them into more of a team atmosphere. They work on teamwork, collaboration, peer modeling, and being able to, again, have those interactions with their peers within the school to create better bonds, better community.
Yeah, the effective communication. Another big piece.
Absolutely. Yep. So kind of the timeline of how we got to where we are today, speaking with you. The first thing was just coming up with the idea and hearing about the idea, which is from the WIHSCA, which is the Wisconsin High School Esports Association. So there's actually a state association for this. There's an outline as far as what competitions are, what games they play, how long the seasons are. We'll dive into more of that as we get going. And then we had to figure out, we had this idea that we'd like to join the WIHSCA and move forward. Just because we're excited about it doesn't mean much if we don't get student buy-in. So we had a chance to do a survey, and we did research on fiscally and financially what's that going to look like, and then get in front of you to talk about what that would look like for our district, and then hopefully move forward with what the competition would look like. So again, it comes down to having the idea and hearing about it from the Wisconsin High School Esports Association. It's an association that's been in effect for over 8 years. It has 155 schools within the state of Wisconsin that participate in the WIHSCA. For reference, that's more than hockey, both female and male. It's more than gymnastics. It's more than swimming or diving. It's more than it's just outside of like girls golf, and it's just outside of boys and girls tennis. So it's pretty well spread across the state. As far as geographically, there's not much in the western corridor where we're at on 94. We'd be one of about 4 schools in our area.
New Richmond being the closest.
Yep. New Richmond, River Falls is in it, Ellsworth, and then the next closest would be Durand. But they range from having Division I schools that are participating all the way to schools the size of Webster and Bruce. So, I mean, you're dealing with Division I schools all the way to Division V schools.
Throughout our presentation, we have links. So right at the bottom there, we have WESA's website link where you can see their mission, vision. Most of their resources are readily accessible for anyone to see, models, and stuff we'll get into as we continue on to.
Yep, the competitions and titles.
Timelines, a bunch of stuff.
So again, we had the idea we'd like to join this. We have to go ahead and take that next step to gauge interest. So again, we're pretty jazzed about it. So right away, we start putting up flyers around our high school. We had student-wide emails that went out to give all of our students, regardless of what grade they're in, anyone can participate in esports within our high school. So student-wide email, giving an outline of what esports is, what we're looking at doing. We use their digital signage throughout our high school and also our daily announcements. So we shot out a Google form to again gather all that data.
So here we have it represented in little controllers. We have currently 41 students interested in esports. So throughout our survey, we asked, we explained what esports was. We explained the titles that are offered. We explained that this would be a district-sponsored activity, relevance to code and things like that, behavioral expectations, that this is not just getting together in a club type aspect. It is a competitive environment with rules and regulations and a governing body.
Yep. So, and again, we had 41 students that garnered interest, again, all throughout all of our different grade levels, with most of our underclassmen being kind of our biggest.
That pie chart represents which grade levels, just breaking them up by grade level of interest.
And then out of our 41, 32 of these students are not involved or participating in any SCC extracurricular activities. So that's 32 students that we would now be able to almost get our hooks into and build a community and actually have them connect to our district and be able to connect with different peers that they may not even communicate with. You hear the stereotypical gamer who's just isolated and playing games all the time. A lot of the interested students are introverts. So it's going to be able to give them that opportunity to communicate effectively with their peers. That's going to be huge to create those relationships.
A big part of what I do as a counselor is I talk to all these kids, individually or in little groups, and so many of them have related interests and things like that, but they're, sometimes they're afraid, they don't want to put themselves out there to get connected with like-minded peers. Something like this can bring all those people that really wouldn't want to get in the same room just because they don't like to be in a room with other people. But when you get something that they're that excited about, it can be really positive.
Obviously, there are a number of benefits of being involved in any type of organized sport. So we highlight some of the benefits of actual esports and how it would impact our school district. So we touched a little bit about the social aspect, allowing those students to have positive communication experiences with each other, being able to collaborate with each other, building and understanding what teamwork as well as leadership is going to be, because you're going to need to have people that are collaborating together. And again, rather than being an isolated experience for them, it's now a social experience.
Putting them towards a common goal. Because again, there's competitions, playoffs, state championships. There's great opportunities within there.
Travis mentioned earlier, we'd like to tie this with our current code of conduct. So we have accountability both in the classroom as well as outside of it, so that those students, in order to compete in competition, you have to be passing your grades. You can't be a behavior issue. Like, there's going to be guidelines set up to help us mold these young men and women.
And then along with that, you've now built in a support group. It's no different than kids that are in football study together. Kids that are in musical are doing things outside together. You've now got kids that are in esports. They're like, I need help with math. I've got a group of people I can text. I've got a group of people I can reach out to. Whereas a lot of these kids I know don't have that right now.
So again, we see nothing but positives about trying to incorporate this within our school district.
Great leadership opportunities, career pathways, marketing, telecasting, voiceovers, video editing. I mean, just things that are going on. Like, I just watched River Falls' football game. The amount of work and people it takes to put on that streamed event is massive. And there's all those potential possibilities built into this as well, because when you compete, most of these schools are streaming it. They're live streaming it. They have announcers. They have shoutcasters who are announcing what's happening, so people that may not know exactly what they're watching can understand. There's a whole bunch of ways for people to get involved without even just playing video games themselves and competing.
And one of the best things about esports is there's no travel. Everything we do would be in-house. We're not busing to a different school district to compete. Everything we have is most everything we have is already on site. So as far as like practices and competitions, as far as what that would potentially look like, just like any other sport, there are seasons for esports. So there's 2 different titles that are performed during each season, and they're based off of a number of different participants. So some have teams of 5, and some have teams between 3 and 5.
That's the big range. You can see fall, winter, spring. These are the current game titles that are running. So Super Smash Bros. Is a game played on the Switch. Fortnite can be played on pretty much any platform. Same with Rocket League, League of Legends, and Valorant are being the PC games. But just things that kids are playing. We asked kids in our survey which kids were playing what games to help gauge interest too. And okay, we might not run a Smite season. Smite's just another game. We don't have a lot of kids here that play, but we do have a fair amount that play Super Smash Bros. That's probably one of our biggest ones. When we do break before break at the high school, we have like our 2.5 hour activity piece. I've run a Super Smash Bros. Tournament for the last 4 years since I've been here. And I get 20 to 30 kids that come down, and I put it into a bracket, and we run a Super Smash Bros. Tournament. I mean, we've kind of been doing it in-house during that time for years. But those are the kids that as soon as we put this out there, they were freaking out in the best way possible. And I get asked, I would say daily, where this is at. So I probably had 5 kids today ask me, are you presenting today? Yep. So they're excited.
And then there's a potential to add another title right now. We just heard from the president of the WHSCA that they're looking at potentially adding another title. We don't know if that title's be added in winter or in the spring. But all the titles as far as their ratings are E to T for team.
17 and below.
Yeah.
No M for 15 and above.
Yeah, they wouldn't do any mature titles. Obviously, we're high school students, so we can't do that. That's not something that the association would look to move forward to. We talked earlier, again, they're the seasons, so competitively, they are just wrapping up on the fall regular season. They're going to go into their 3 weeks of playoffs. And there is a state championship, which is held at the Madison School of Technology.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like technological college in Madison. So they actually have an in-person championship weekend where they have all of the fall titles, all those winning teams will come together and finish up and have that live stream.
So that's your only travel application that might happen.
Yeah, if we make it to state. But that's no different than any other organized activity that would make it. Yeah, and then the winter season doesn't start up again until right after we get back from break. So hopefully, if it's possible, we'd love to join the winter season. If not the spring, or if we have to wait till next year, that's also an opportunity as well. But again, they do have dedicated seasons. Speaking with other leaders of schools, of other coaches, they have some students that try to play in all 3 seasons. They have some that are on the football team, so they don't play the fall season, but then they'll play the winter, and then they'll do baseball in the spring. So they have 3 sport athletes, and one of their sports is esports, as well as students that aren't involved in anything.
This for me is one of the most exciting parts. There is college opportunities with this. So just down the road at UWRF, they have an esports team. Eau Claire, Stout, those are the 3 closest ones. Then some other schools on the other side of the state. We've got 6 colleges in Minnesota that currently have esports teams, and they operate under a similar governing body like we saw, but it's the NACE, which is the National Association of College Esports. They have different titles, so they can play great mature games because they have 18-year-olds and adults. But it is a very similar setup. They're competing against colleges in their state
And nationally. There are over 170 colleges across the country that have esports associations with over $16 million in scholarships every year.
and recruiting opportunities. All of those links lead directly to that college's esports page. So if you ever want to see their setups, it's a really hot topic right now. Schools are dumping a lot of money into these things, and it's attracting a lot of students.
Obviously, dumping a lot of money in brings us to what would that financial impact look like for our district? We have kind of 3 different tiers as far as what it would be. We have 6 machines that are currently in our business ed department that we could upgrade. None of our machines currently in our district have the video graphics cards to run these titles. They weren't built to do that. We didn't buy them in with the thought process of having us use them for esports. So we'd have at the bare minimum in order to get going with 6 machines. We would upgrade. Oh, sorry. I forgot to mention we did have 1 esports machine that was donated to us by a local technology company. So that's how we have 5 machines at the high school, and we actually had 1 donated. So that's why we only need 5 graphics cards to update our current 5 that we have.
That was just this for esports.
Yes.
We had the donation.
Yeah, that was just, we didn't even call anyone. They reached out to us. So that's something we're also going to be looking into, is see if we can get sponsors and any other local donations. But then one big part of esports, we need, again, that communication aspect. We need to have a set of headphones with microphone and headphones in them. And then we would need to purchase 1 additional monitor for that donated tower that we got, because we don't have a monitor. But so like to get 6 machines up and running,
Bare minimum.
yes, would be $2,100. If we took a next step where we upgraded those 6 machines and purchased 6 new machines with the additional monitors, then it's just over $10,000 is what it would be. We've done a lot of research as far as the price points. So we're at approximately $1,100 for a decent gaming computer, and we would have our IT staff in-house would build them. So we would purchase all the components, and then we would be able to put those together.
which saves that cost.
Yeah.
And this model is also more ideal. So just like any other sport, you need to practice. You saw with some of those titles when you're running 4 and 5 teams, person per team, we wouldn't be able to even practice against each other with
Over 40 interested participants. We only have 12 machines.
And so say we had a varsity team running a 5-person game, we wouldn't be able to practice with 6 machines.
And then the third option would be if we purchase 12 new devices, as well as get a monitor for our one that was donated. And that would begin the same price point of $1,100 per unit. You need additional monitors and headphones. That would be approximately just over $16,500. Outside of the cost to get the equipment, because that is pretty much our only barrier. We have interested staff who are willing to help out and coach the students. We have the infrastructure with our internet connection. We have our IT staff that are willing to help out. It just comes down to having the actual equipment in order to move forward. And then as far as how the compensation would look as far as hours, because there are different seasons, after talking with our athletic directors, both in high school and middle school, recommended the 5% coordinator position and having 2 paid staff members, which again, if you have 2 staff members across 3 different seasons, it'd be just over $12,700.
And this part is extremely fluid because, for example, say we don't have a team for the winter season. So instead, we'd be looking at potentially like an advisor position. Now our hours are less because we're not competing, but we want to get kids ready for the spring. So we have interest there. So now we're running practices out of season for spring titles. And again, this is just the really loose interpretation. Yes. There's a lot of things that we need to figure out. A similar model, we would track hours dedicated to it, get a much more honed in view on the kind of commit that you're talking about.
We did reach out to Richmond, as they have a program that's established, and they are, the information I got from him is $1,500 per season is kind of what they're running. Other schools are hiring a coach for $5,000 for the year, and so that's another step that we would do after kind of just the dissemination of the information is to take a look at some of the comparables and see how the compensation would work at St. Chris Central, the models we already have set up. What Dan and Travis kind of explained those timelines, where Chance and I came up with that, the coordinator position it's very much in line with like our middle school sports as far as the length and the amount of time with the one competition will be. And so that's why we just kind of threw those in as placeholders as a roundabout number.
And then we did include some additional resources and articles. If anyone wanted to, again, those are all hyperlinked in order to get to some of that content. Again, it's a 1,000-foot view at kind of what it is. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or things that you just kind of want to know more about from us? We would be willing to talk for as long as you've let us, but I know that your guys' time is important.
Do you have an estimated annual budget? I mean, obviously this is technology driven, and most computers, by the time you actually get them set up the way you want to use them, they're outdated already. Yeah, so I'd imagine you're gonna have to turn the computers over at least every couple of years. Maybe annually.
Yeah, we look at, they should be able to run the titles for at least 4 to 5 years, if not longer. Our goal is by purchasing the individual components of the machine, is that we can buy higher end components by us doing the labor to put it together, so it will last longer.
And typically the biggest investment you're making hardware wise is a graphics card. So again, once you have your tower, your keyboard, your headset, those things all typically carry on. The biggest advancements are always made graphics cards. That investment to re-up goes down. And again, if we were to upgrade, like I said, to the next 4 or 5 years, that would be such a leap that that could be stretched out. Just what we have right now wouldn't even start up.
And we purchase the equipment and the towers in a way that is easy for us to just pull the graphics card out. If we need to upgrade one piece of equipment, we can swap that out. Yes.
Also those guys are pretty light processing for the most part up in the ground.
Yes. Yeah.
Consoles on them pretty easily.
Yeah.
More of like an enrollment question, and I don't know if we would know that one, just because it is completely virtual.
Mhm.
Could students that are open enrolled from outside our district participate, or would the same rules apply? Like from an enrollment standpoint, like those virtual charter people to participate? And then
That's a huge demographic that we haven't even looked into,
You know,
and
just-
obviously a lot of those students would be interested, I would assume already.
yeah, just asking because it might be a good recruiting.
Yeah.
If nobody else is doing it through that type of a wing, like that, they're kind of pretty active in that space already. Outside when COVID hit, our kids would be online with all of their friends and they would play Fortnite in squads. That's what you see all the squads for. And they had their headsets and they all had to buy their headphones and they would play. You know, it's funny just to listen to them, like the strategy, the conversations about what are you doing, and kind of all this stuff. And that was like their only connection to their friends. And then they'd be video chatting at the same time and that, which was a lot in the house when you're trying to work. But I thought it was great for them. Like I think it's awesome. Just having a chance to watch that and make that connection for them when they didn't have anything else. I think it's cool.
And
I'm
almost 30 and I did the exact same thing over there. So and you mentioned just the ability to talk with friends. COVID changed a lot of the way some of these students interacted with each other. You had students that all of a sudden may have been playing a specific sport. They for a whole year couldn't play it. Like, okay, I'll not do that anymore. And they may have spent that entire time transitioning to a different venue. And now this would be a sport to hook them back into our community. It's things that all of our students are doing in silos already. But now we're just going to bring them together and have that collaboration, those monitored communications.
Yeah, Brandon's on with Brody
Competition.
and Chance and Maddie and somebody else almost every night working on stuff. So all of a sudden you hear a kid like yelling over the TV downstairs. I'm like, what in the world? They're playing with it. So no.
So I imagine the WISA would determine the eligibility rules in terms of open enrolled students, right? I mean, whatever, because it's not, I mean, the WI determines eligibility for athletics. I'm sure they would determine eligibility and have that answered.
The biggest thing that we want to do is to make sure it's tied to our code of conduct.
Mhm.
We have something, a framework to go off of. We want to have that. We could all definitely reach out to the WISA to see is there anything that they have. We may have enough students that we may have to create another team for a virtual tournament. We don't know. We haven't surveyed that demographic yet. And it's a lot of kids that I'm guessing would be interested.
So you're kind of asking for like three things tonight that would need board approval. One, that this gets added to the extracurricular offerings for students. Two, it gets added to the extracurricular coaching or advisor, mentee, or whatever scale. And three, budget, right?
Correct.
If I'm sitting in your seats, I'm probably asking, well, how do we proceed with that? There's a lot, So, you could do a motion, say we approve of that, with the assumption or with the flexibility that the administration will work with Jen and the budget to determine which option is feasible, right? Because there's lots of options. It's number one, so instead of 12,000 for the advisors, it's for sure going to be 8 because there's only 2 seasons left this year. So at the most 8, and then you could go from 1,200 up to whatever it was, 16,000 in terms of equipment, right?
Yep.
So there's kind of a range.
And that's only for 12 machines. You have 40 kids that are interested. That's like having 12 basketballs in your squad basketball practice for new dribbling drills. 12. But again, we understand we have to start somewhere.
And these are all PC based things. They're
Yes,
not
yeah,
game
we're looking-
consoles like PlayStation or
Right now, we're looking at
Xbox.
doing PC based because it allows us for the most flexibility of all of our time.
So a kid
At the
couldn't
moment,
practice on their
at the
home
moment.
gaming console and wouldn't carry over.
Yes, because what you can do is you can adapt a controller to a PC.
Okay.
Which is completely legal within the WISA realm. As all that matters is that you're competing under the rules. So kids can game outside of structured practice time. And it would also be encouraged.
Right.
They're gonna do it anyways. So when we talked to the president, he said they have a really big Smite team, president of WESA. And he's like, they run Smite for a couple hours every night after they get home from practice. And they've been doing that for 5 years. So it's just, yeah, it's completely possible to translate home, then right back to school.
Yeah, and it's just something the students started doing. It wasn't where it was mandated by their coach. They just said, hey, you want to
Practice essentially.
Tim, before a motion is made, if I can just share, when you guys spoke to the 32 out of 41 that weren't in extracurriculars, that hit me. I got an adopted brother that my parents are raising. He has many disabilities. The only reason he's still in school today as a sophomore now is because he began esports at his school. He connected with a teacher, a math teacher, and that's if they were here, they would say the same thing. He really struggled with school, but because of esports and connecting within that community, he's one of those 32 that are nothing else but that. So that speaks loudly, and what really excites me about this potential opportunity when I think about him and him gonna make it through school hopefully for 2 more years. It's because of that teacher that's connected and pushed to get esports going, and he just thrives in that world, and he will probably go to college. Just one of these kind of schools because of that, because fine academically, just really struggles with the social component of different things because of disabilities. And so I think it was worth sharing that was a really important number. Thank you.
Would they be able to earn a letter then?
That's something that we would work with our athletics and activities director.
The track team does it then?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's kind of in the initial conversations with Travis and Dan is it would likely be in our code of conduct. We have group 1 activities and group 2. Group 1 are WIA kind of governed sports, and group 2 is our clubs and activities, and trap is a group 2. And I see this very much being like trap, where you can earn a varsity letter, you can earn a letter in drama, you can earn a letter in band. And so, yeah, I definitely see where that's where it would fit. I think it makes sense to be able to make that work.
Same with Florida, I think, because that's not WIA either.
Correct.
It's own.
Yeah.
And the NFHS, who does all the rules for like football and basketball, they have rules for esports. Our state just hasn't adopted it yet through our WIA, so we don't follow those rules.
That top link in the additional resources was to one of their inserts with their notes and rules, social implications, potential problems, everything.
It was a parent's 101 course to what is esports.
That's one other group of stuff as far as fees for the kids as well. If they're in a certain number, it caps out.
Yep, that's something that we talked about is having a fee. There's a fee on powerlifting.
Yep.
So we have to have it would be a fee too. And it'd be structured with the family max.
Bring your own graphics card or something.
They would.
As the kids would be like, I got a spare.
My nephews, they bring their 48-inch TV that the 2 of them share for sleepovers. And they game at sleepovers. Like this is like don't bring your blanket, your pillow. Like you bring your TV with your Xbox, your PlayStation, whatever. Like,
Well, trap shooting and esports are the 2 fastest growing college sports right now. And you saw a couple of them just in Minnesota, and our university is looking at it. And there's a lot of money that they're getting for scholarships to go to schools. And they're also, universities are building spaces that you can do indoor trap shooting. And then they're doing, I know a school in Minnesota just got 25 kids for esports to come to their school, 25 students out of high school. So it's huge.
Yep.
We have one of the top Fortnite players, I think, in the country at our school.
It's crazy.
Which is weird.
Yeah, like River Falls just started their program this year. They have 20 computers. Don't have anyone on their team yet.
Yeah.
They built their machines and their space before they recruited anybody.
Because I know it's coming.
Because that's the hook. That's the hook for all these players is to see the setup.
They actually just got a PS5. My brother coaches tight ends football team, and the athletic director just let them know that the esports team just got a PS5 this week, so they're excited about that too.
Great. 41 kids or more that you're gonna have connecting, and
That's just.
I think it's awesome.
After it was very aware.
Assuming we can figure it out.
Yeah, I encourage you to make a motion and with the
I
assumption.
make a motion to go for the big one. I
Okay.
just like, I think.
It's in the budget,
Yeah,
right, with stipulation. I think we should be able to.
Okay.
I make a motion to go after the 13, 12,
65, I think was the, whatever one number was.
no, but plus the
13 new machines.
13, 12 new machines, plus the.
Yeah, we can get plus 13 monitors to
13
get the one.
monitors, the 16,550.
So for equipment.
Plus the advisors.
Plus the advisors.
So annually be, oh yeah, that's startup, so that wouldn't recur.
No.
This would not be recurring.
Correct.
Only thing recurring would be the coaching.
Eventually, we'd have to upgrade the graphics cards in the machine, so that's, I don't know if that's.
Some budget, so like to develop a budget. Okay. And then potential travel when the kids get to stay.
When we get to stay.
And
Right.
if I could see if we keep growing, the need for more machines and potentially dedicated space eventually, I don't know where it's going to
Got a
go.
motion.
Many schools have dedicated spaces just for their computers. And the only students that are using them are on the East Coast team.
It may be the kind of thing where you need to think about it, even as far as transportation. You know, we look at a bus or two every year or two. Maybe the same kind of thing. You need to swap out certain components for 3 machines a year, 4 machines a year, 2 machines a year, whatever it is. Once you get rolling, and then that kind of becomes a basis for a rolling budget.
Yep.
Maybe a little fluid, but it becomes a basis for a rolling budget. Is there like individual state and team state
There is.
opportunity?
So currently, the games that are individual is Smash. One of the ones is Smash, and they actually the president set out today nomination forms for individual competitors for the for the Smash Bros. For those in the top 20 in the state. So if your team didn't make it, but you're best the Smash Bros. Standalone player, you go to a 20-person bracket.
So like wrestling.
Yeah, so it's individual team, exactly, or like golf. Golf does it the same way.
All right, so we have a motion from Brian to do the 13 machines startup costs along with advisor, pending approval and working with Jen. Who would like to second that motion?
I will.
So Josh, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Second?
Yeah.
Well, seriously, thank you, gentlemen. Number
Yeah,
one,
thank you.
just another example, right? We mentioned bus races to trap shooting, the culinary arts, right? So many opportunities for kids, and it's super exciting to see that it's a different demographic to get them hooked and involved in all the things you mentioned. So thank you for having the creativity and, ingenuity and an open mind, right? And to bring it here, because it's kind of a blind spot for a number of us. So thank you and whoever else
Thank you.
helped support you to get it to this point. So thank you.
It's good for kids. All right, Nick. We've got the 2021-22 DPI school report card. The Director of Teaching and Learning, Nick Dean. Yeah. Discussion.
Okay. Crazy. Kids that just play by play announcing.
It's like, oh, shoot.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's approved.
Cool.
We still want a bunch of pods.
I think the biggest issue I've seen with that in our last presentation is how much grow I have to eat
Yeah. I remember seeing
Yeah, you can. You can get it
15
for
years
free.
ago, there were cartoons
You can get it
about
for
that.
free.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy.
Our math teacher at Webster had a cartoon like that, something like, there's definitely careers in video gaming, not, or something like that.
And now you
15 years later.
Think of the teachers when we went to school. We're not have a lot of arithmetic. We're not gonna have a calculator everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Space bar.
Space bar report.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right, well, that was, like I shared, that hits home a little bit. So that's exciting to see, to hear about. And we're also here to celebrate our report card, which is really enjoyable too. We have Amanda Lang. Mandy is here because she is working on a director of instruction licensure. And so she's doing projects and she's learning what parts of the role are. And so she has presented at her buildings a little bit to help inform our staff how the report card is built. And she's also here going to present tonight too. And last year, we spent a lot of time going in depth as it was a new report card. A number of changes were made last year. So this is the second year of that new style and new information. Some very minor tweaks that we will need to talk about tonight. But she is going to work through how the report card is built in a much shorter version than I did last year, a much clearer version because of that last. It is going to be an overview of our district report card. Of course, we have a report card for all buildings. Those were publicly released yesterday. A quick turnaround here to get you the information. And part of that reasoning is, and she may talk to it as well, as so that you're informed. So that when a community member or someone asks, you're aware of how it was built or what it represents and the great things that are still happening. So again, our goal today is to help you understand the district report card. As it was just released yesterday publicly. It was released 3 weeks ago, embargoed just to us as administrators so we could look at demographics and information, make sure it's accurate. Couldn't share that with anyone. Then they shut it back down, took a look at the information that was requested for change and released it publicly. Just a reminder tonight as we go over the district report card, our virtual charter school is not included as a part of it because it is more than 50% of open enrolled students. So they are not included in this report card, the overall district report card. They receive their own report card, just like all of our buildings do, middle school, high school, elementary. But what builds our district report card are pre-K, K through 12 students on site. With that being said, I'll turn it over to Mandy.
All right, so as I said, essentially the goal here tonight is to help you get a base understanding of what the report card is, how it's created, and really so that you are able, hopefully, to feel comfortable and confident having conversations should they come up now that it has been released to the public. And right or wrong, the report card is a piece of information that families, community members do look at when deciding to send their students to a school or moving to a district. We know that SCC is so much more than this report card. Right, it's projects like Dickey Sports. It's making sure that our students come first, that we're doing what's best for kids, that we're a family of educators. But it also is this one piece of information that is what the community has. And so we want to make sure that everyone understands it so they feel comfortable having those conversations because the community is going to have perspectives and they're going to have perceptions when they look at this information. And it is complicated. It's a really complicated piece of information, a document. And they're going to try to fill in what maybe they don't understand. And if they ask you questions, our hope is that you're able to answer them and help them to understand what they're looking at. So that way the perceptions and the perspectives are accurate and positive and not skewed.
Yeah, so big part, we spoke at length about this last year as well as too, is when you look in your communities, and of course we have Robertson, what's a local source of pride? And no doubt, the St. Croix Central School District is a big piece of our local pride. And it's because of our students, because of the staff. And you as a board have supported, whether you've been here a long time, like Mr. Olson, or within your short tenure, you've supported, again, everything being directed along with, through our mission and vision towards student achievement, student success, and supporting our staff to do that. And our students, as she says, what they represent is much more than a report card and an academic score. She will speak to at length, this is about attendance and academics and graduation rates.
but it's more again about our character. It's about things like sports and our athletics and our arts and our band, all those different experiences that create citizens. If not here in Roberts, in Hammond, and also, of course, our staff that again, incredible day in, day out, doing what they can do for our students, every student, trying to help them first and foremost feel valued and belong, that they belong and are respected within our schools. That trumps anything academically. But of course, we have that responsibility then academically as well to prepare them beyond. So when they leave our school district, they can do what they want. Enter the career field right away or enter continuing education. So what is our report card about? Again, why do we have these? It's a federal, it's a mandate that we have some type of accountability system. This was a state developed. I think 2012 was the first year. There's been 2 different years where there wasn't a report card. And initially there actually wasn't even a district report card. It was just by building. Then they built that in. But it's really to help identify our areas, again, that we're strong in and can build upon, as well as areas that we need to improve upon. We're not perfect, nor is any other district, and we know that. We continually strive to be better in areas, meet everyone's needs, but there's a lot of strengths to it, and that's the value of this report card. So we can see how we're performing, gives us areas to look in specifically, and it's derived again upon our demographics, our grad rates, attendance, value-added growth, which means based on a score the previous year, they can project where that student should land, and when we do take our students higher than what they're projected, that's value added. That means staff members, our systems are set up to actually help our students grow more than expected. And that's quite typical on our report cards, that kids are growing more than what is projected.
All right, so we're going to look at 7 different things today. The overall score, what makes the overall score, how we are comparing to other schools, and what's the next step after that. So our overall score for SCC school district this year, again, that is the elementary, the middle, and the high school all combined together, is 77.1, which falls into that exceeds expectations category. So that is something to celebrate. We're excited about it. And one thing of note for this is while we have all these beautiful banners with colorful pictures of the state with the numbers in them, you won't see that on the report card anymore. The state very intentionally has this part of the report card black and white because they don't want this to be the focus. It's the priority areas we're about to get into. That's the focus because that's where we get some actionable information that we can take in and really dig into and create plans that are going to move us even more into the future and improve that student achievement and success. So overall score though is 77.1. So that is certainly something to celebrate.
And if you're looking at that and comparing it to the other numbers, remember these are previous report cards based on different information. Well, unfortunately, it's not apples to apples to say, well, that's less than 17, 18. That's different information.
Yeah, they did change it to create more equity in the reporting. And so you can't compare the exact numbers to numbers when we're looking at all the previous banners. So the 4 areas that go into that overall score, achievement, growth, target group outcomes, and on track to graduation. So this pie chart, this is how these categories are weighted for the district. Each school, each building, it looks a little bit different of a pie chart, but this is the overall district pie chart. So the achievement is worth almost 36% of that overall score. Achievement and growth, the percentage that is given to those categories is based on the economically disadvantaged numbers in our district. So the more economically disadvantaged students that we have, the more weight is placed on growth. Because the goal is that those students are growing, especially that we're giving a little bit more targeted attention to them. And so these are the 4 areas that we're going to dig into today that created that overall score that we just looked at. So the first one is achievement. Achievement is our students' level of knowledge. So this is how they did on the test. So when they took the test in the spring, this is their score. Achievement is how well they performed on the test in English language arts and in mathematics. And so the dark blue line there is SCC. The light blue line is the K-12 state average. And then the English language arts and mathematics achievement scores are averaged together to create the overall achievement of 69.6. And it is a celebration to see both ELA and math above the state average in achievement. But it's not just last year. It's actually a 3-year cycle. And so it's the last 3 test cycles, and because of COVID, there's a gap. So this is looking at our student test scores from 18-19 school year, 2020-2021 school year, and then 21-22. And so the next year, the last year will fall off, and it'll be the most recent 3. That COVID year will kind of eventually fall off as well. So it's not just last spring, it's a series. So it's looking at trends and historical data as well. It's the overall student achievement on those tests in the spring. Priority area number 2 is growth. And that is how rapidly students are gaining knowledge from year to year. So as Nick said, student takes a test spring of 2021. They have a score. And the state looks at that score, and then they say, based on all of this calculations that they do, this is where that student should be next year when they take the test. And then a year goes by, they have a year of education, they take the test spring of 2022, and then they look at that score. Did the student meet that growth score? Did they go where they were expected to go? Did they go above that growth, or are they below that growth? And that's how we get this number, is did they get to that projected growth score by the state, above it or below it? And so in English language arts, 79.3, math 66, and you see above the state average in ELA, right at the state average for math. Overall gives us a 72.7. So more celebrations is a lot of excitement. Similar to achievement, this is 3 years worth of growth. So because of that COVID year, we have the growth from 18 to 19, 19 to 21, because there's no test in 2020, and then 21 to 22. So it's 3 test cycles of growth for students.
If I can interject, if you're looking at your packet at all, you'll notice, right, a lot of information, both in achievement and growth, that breaks it out by demographic, right, by race, by ability, disability, economically disadvantaged. They also show from year to year how many percentage in proficient, below basic, etc. That's where we can really dig in, right, is that information. This is a great number, 72.7, but what does that really mean? And that's where we go into these other areas and really break down our groups and areas, grade levels, etc. that we need to focus more on it, and heighten success that has occurred in other grades or other buildings. Why does that happen?
Next priority area is the target group, and it's probably the most complicated of the 4 areas. The calculations for it are very involved and very complex. Essentially, this is a mini report card for the lowest 25th percentile of our students. So when the students take the test, the state takes the lowest 25th percentile of them on their scores and puts them into a target group. And then that group, it creates essentially their own mini report card. So we look specifically at that group of students. How are they achieving? How are they growing? Are they coming to school? Are they chronically absent, meaning they miss more than 10% of the school days? And are they graduating? We're looking at that lowest 25th percentile. And for SCC, 78.1, what this tells us looking at all these bar charts is that while students might be scoring low on the tests, they're growing and they're graduating, they're coming to school, and those are awesome things to see, that they are making progress and they are attending, they're engaged, they have a connection with our school, and then they're crossing that stage and graduating as well.
What this used to be called closing the gap. We've been around long enough to remember that language. And so one instance here, when I look at this information, this district score was the same or higher than 94% of the districts in the state. What that's telling us is that we're identifying, we're recognizing our students that are in that bottom 25, and there's always going to be a bottom 25%, right? There will always be, and it's a combination of, and it can be any type of student. It used to be you just focus on economically disadvantaged, or special ed, or EL, but now it can be any type of student within that bottom 25%. And we look at one in particular where it says mathematics, our target group, 81.2% of students demonstrated growth, right? Versus our non-target group of 60%. So what that tells us in that one little subset of information is that our specific efforts within tier 2, tier 3 interventions and working with these students that are, we know, have the information that are that targeted group that we can really hone in on, we're impacting them. She said it right, our achievement is low because that is our bottom 25% of students. It's going to be lower, but the growth score
is a really big one that we want to look at. Are we impacting through what we're trying to do outside of tier one instruction?
The fourth priority area is on track to graduate. And so this looks different in each building depending on how the building is structured. But as an overall district, this is looking at how successfully students are achieving milestones that are indicators of future success. And so things like, are they coming to school? Are they chronically absent? So that's missing the more than 10%. And the higher that is on the bar chart, that's a good thing. That means so that many students are not chronically absent. It's kind of a reverse chart. So that's a positive that we have students coming to school. Graduation rate, are they graduating? 98.3. And then it also looks at third grade English language arts test scores and eighth grade math, which are determined to be milestone indicators of future success of students. And so above the state average on all of those as well. So lots and lots of celebrations here. For anything relating to attendance and graduation that is lagged by one academic year. And so the attendance and graduation is information from the 2020-2021 school year, because they have to get the full all the way through for some districts June, and they test in April-ish, depending on the assessment in the spring. So all the attendance stuff is lagged by a year. So that kind of just be aware that the graduation rate is not last spring's students. It would be a year behind. All right, so then we look at how we are comparing to those other schools. So because this was all released yesterday to the public, we were able to pull up comparison data.
Yeah, this is a really cool part. While of course we're the school board and staff of SCC, and we believe Panther Blue, right? We want all school districts to do really well, because not only do we have people taking care of our cars or our hearts or whatever, you know, from our area, but it's from other areas. So we want all school districts performing. So to compare, right, it's nice because it, two things. It can validate what we're doing, but it also can open the door to collaborating with other districts to learn what they're doing, which we did last year and we'll continue this year. We'll reach out to other districts when we find a particular area, strengths they might have that we need to grow in. What are you doing and how can we emulate or be very similar? But so yeah, data came out yesterday, so spent some good time yesterday and today really weeding that out. First out of our 39 CIS-11 school districts, first out of the 8 middle border, first out of the 12 benchmark, 40th in Wisconsin, 4K through 12 school districts. To be clear, there are 4K through 8 districts. There are 9-12 school districts. So had every school district in front of me and weeded that out to the 4K-12. Last year we were 25th. So we did slide back a little bit. Still something to be very proud of course. Third in Wisconsin for our school districts was similar enrollment. So like taking a look at that range from 1,200 to 1,900, and then second Wisconsin for school district with that similar enrollment but similar demographics. And why that's important, for instance, West Salem, very similar in the economically disadvantaged SPED, EL, and open enrollment percentage. Well, that means we're going to probably be similar in staff, we're going to be similar in systems. So let's work with a West Salem, a Lodi, a Freedom. Trying to think there's about 12 schools that are very, very identical, that are very worth our time to spend time with their staff. And in fact, December 15th, we have West Salem administration coming up this way. We've worked together in the past and want to continue that working relationship. What are you doing? What are we doing? How can we benefit from each other? But this is really, again, exciting information, not because we want to say, you know, yeah, we're better than you, but it gives us a nice little feather in our cap to say we're a great school district, and we can promote this when people, as Manny said, there are people that come into districts and not only look at athletics when considering where to move, but also academic, right? And scholarship and courses offered for sure. And now the state report card that's been around for 10 years. That's a piece of information they can digest and look at. This is something we can promote and say, we're pretty darn good and pretty proud of it.
All right, so what's next? If we have all this data and we talk about it and then we don't do anything with it, it was kind of like, why did we look at the data? Or why did we collect the data? We
Just a second, sorry, I forgot something, Andy. You did get a handout that is showing the number of schools and what schools are. I apologize. You'll see some shaded right area. This year, the state by far, the vast majority, and even as you look at this list, most schools
took a step backward in their score. And we can hypothesize the reasons, very true. I like to make an analogy to this. If you don't sleep well tonight, typically tomorrow you're okay, but it's the next day where you're impacted. That's studies have shown, right? It's not immediate when you start to lose that sleep. It actually impacts you later on. And I think that's similar to some thinking we can do with COVID, is working really hard and trying everything and anything we can do during that pandemic time. And there was still hangover from it, and there's still repercussions and side effects. You heard Travis speak very slightly to the amount of time he does in counseling with particular students. That has only ramped up the mental health and those types of things, right? Not only with students, but also staff. And so that is one factor, as well as ACT hit historic low in results, not only nationwide, but statewide in terms of average as well. What's our high school based on? ACT, a lot of them. So there's a lot of factors that contribute to this, but I just wanted to point out again, still very, very proud, even though our score also dropped a few points. What we're maintaining and doing and the work we're doing to continue to go forward. Again, we can speak to, but I forgot to mention the document and what that might mean with regards to those shaded areas and what I was trying to show with that, just so there's perspective to the different schools. And just the wide net cast here is all the way from, I mean, again, within a 100-mile radius, folks. So not only CISA 11 schools, but all the CISA 10 and CISA 9 around us. Again, our score is 77.1. You look at all those other local districts from Hayward and Maple Northwestern down to, again, Black River Falls, etc. Why our score is still very, very, very good. Sorry about that.
So celebrating, certainly there's a lot here to be excited about, but also reflecting. And so digging into it, the staff, the admin are digging into, like, your stapled packet of report cards, 7-8 pages long. And what I just covered was page 1, was the overview, the broad picture. So that way, if a community member does come and ask you, you're able to have a conversation with them. Hopefully, you feel like you have a slightly better understanding of what this is. But there's all those other pages after it, full of more charts and more data. And the staff and the administration are digging into that and looking at the individual demographics and looking into different programming and what it is that we're doing and how can we continue what's going really well with those celebrations, but how do we also then reflect on maybe the areas of growth and how do we, what changes do we have to make in order to really target in on those things? So staff and admin are digging into this this week, especially in the middle school, is each individual content area, whether they're a tested content area or not really. It's not just ELA and math. This is everybody. This is all hands on deck. Forming those relationships impacts attendance, impacts everything. It's all connected. And so we're all educators, whether that's greeting the student when they get on the bus in the morning or being a certified teacher or whatever. Everybody's impacting our students. And so it's really all of us celebrating, but also reflecting and just helping our students to grow even more and achieve all of that success. So hopefully you feel like you have a bit of an understanding of the report card, at least page 1. And because it's a very involved document. So if you have questions for us about it, or it's just kind of a lot to digest and chew on, and just came out, so it's brand new as well.
Well, whether you agree with the methodology or not, right, we could hash that over for a long time, but we can't change that. So we use the information that we have. There is one last page that we didn't put on here that began last year as well, called the post-secondary preparation. And this is not a part of the report card score, but it is information only. And that just tells us about the participation by our students compared to the state. And I want to point out, if you are looking at that, it is page 9 and 10. There was an error on here, but we can't correct that. So 3 weeks ago, I said we were given a preview, a peek, a look at this, and that was a page that you can't go back and change numbers on. But I wanted to point out our advanced courses. It says that as a district, we only have 7.7% of our students participated, 32 that were successful. The number is inaccurate, and that was actually, we're at over 190 students participated in advanced courses, and we're around 45%. So much higher than the state, similar to the other ones there. thought it was worth pointing out, we do not have a lack of students in advanced courses, whether AP or college, a CAP, earning college credits already. But two things come to mind to kind of put a bow on it from this end if you have questions. Speaking with another school district, they compared data to chocolate and coffee in moderation. Right, so we have all these numbers and it's valuable and it drives things, but it's really important that we continue to focus on our students and our staff and their well-being, or again, their value, who they are, and meeting where they're at, using this information at our levels of administration, at building leadership teams, per building, et cetera, using it as we can, but remembering that other piece of it beyond the data. Similarly, reading a recent article about Joe Madden, a longtime baseball coach who was fired this year in the professional MLB, and he spoke to all of these sports are being driven by analytics, right? That pitchers will only go 4 innings, even though they might be in a perfect game, whatever it is, right? You're probably aware now. And he said it's losing some of the soul of sport in terms of making gut feeling adjustments and changes, like maybe we were used to long ago in our experiences or what we were watching. It just spoke to that there's something being lost in the analytics. And it just spoke to me a little bit in that same type of frame. We have so much information now that it is valuable, but trusting the gut of our educators in the classroom, our leaders in the buildings, and what they're seeing and what they're feeling and what they're sensing, and recognizing what's most important now and as we continue to look forward, just so there isn't a feel that all we're striving for is this number on the wall. And that's the most important, because it isn't, as a mission vision state. It's much bigger than that. So with that being said, is there any questions for Mandy and I have? Done all right. As I said last year,
I remember.
Year, brand new report.
Thank you. Good information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to the financial reports. That is new. Thanks.
All right, bank account balances as of 10/31/22. Citizen State Bank checking, $696,628.80. Citizen State Bank Money Market Fund, $1,521,367.04. Fund 46, $53.34. Suicide Prevention Fund is $16,835.75. Fund 39, $155,414.19. Fund 49A, $18,396,011.72 for a total fund balance of $20,786,311.84. Any questions? Sure, I can. Let's get a motion to approve.
All right. Brian made a motion to approve the financial report.
Second.
Can you second it?
I think, yeah.
Okay. Then second, any questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, number 10, consideration of consent agenda. Right through, we have 5 full-time and 17 part-time enroll in virtual courses. David Olson, get a motion. Agreed, second. Questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Administrative reports by Tim. Student enrollment update.
Our in-seat enrollment continues to increase, which is good and atypical as compared year over year. End of the year last year at 1614, we're 1634 as of November. In-seats count. The free and reduced rate did not change a whole lot after the grace period ended. We're at 22.47. And then you could see our open enrollment in and out for the difference of 126. And then our virtual charter numbers in November of 22 is 229 as compared to November 21 at 277. Any questions?
Okay, no question? Oh, go ahead. Nope, it was just questions.
Any thoughts or insight on going 277 to 229 year over year?
Thoughts or insight? I don't know. Not really. I'm not super concerned with that. I mean, I think there's 13 right now being processed. I mean, it's kind of cyclical. Kind of.
Well, so there's no trends or anything that you're seeing that would make that happen.
What was the number that you said?
277. It should be right there now.
So that's including the residents. That why?
The virtual FT, virtual PT, that box a little above and to the left, that's the resident, 34 and 65.
Just didn't know if there was, something that stands out that definitely see could cause that decline, something we can ward off, or
No, all indicators are it's going well. The enrollment has been increasing steadily, so it's not. Yeah.
no cause for concern.
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on to 12, the key work of our school board, student, staff, and community recognition by Josh.
Mark Albright, Jake Behrens, Simon Herink, AJ Holmgren, and Adam Schlater. Congratulations on earning academic all-state honors from the Wisconsin Football Coaches Association. Simon Herink, congratulations on earning WFCA All-Region for your efforts on the football field this season. Noah Nussbaum, congratulations on earning WFCA All-Region for your efforts on the football field this season. David Linsmeyer, thank you for planning and running an outstanding Veterans Day program at the elementary school. This is another example of what makes our school so special. You are appreciated. Alyssa Fritchie, thank you for planning and running an outstanding Veterans Day program at the middle school. Another example of what makes our school so special, and you are appreciated. Carol Shader, thank you for planning and running an outstanding Veterans Day program at the high school. This is an example of why what makes our school so special, and you are appreciated. And then Chris Buckle, for the outstanding Veterans Day program at the high school, you are appreciated. To the high school senators, middle school student council, elementary school student council, you planned an amazing Veterans Day ceremony for all the veterans in our community. You made this a very special day for everyone in the St. Croix Central School District. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to core agenda items. First is consideration of approval of subscription to the WASB Policy Resource Guide.
Just backing up to your question, David, I just looked real quick, like last month, and report, October of 21, virtual was at 192, virtual charter. as compared to October this past month of 217. So we were ahead of schedule. So I don't know how I went from 192 to 277 in 1 month last year, but that's
Showed that it was 202 last November and 229 this November, so I'm not sure.
that
We have, because my chart showed that we've increased this whole year ahead of where we were last year. So we've been really excited about it and all that, so
yeah, that'd be 85 kids in 1 month. That maybe I'll double check. It feels like that. Yeah.
For this point.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Back to the policy resource guide. So I don't know if you remember, David would remember, we started revising from the old policy indexing to the new, right, to align with WASB's coding system. And I'll pull this up. But Pam and I, at the time, we decided, Pam and I will just start chipping away at it. WASB had a service. Neola had a really expensive service to help with that. Thought, well, we can at least get it started. But, we're kind of at the point where I'm like, let's get a little more efficient with that and use some resources. So I will just pull up show here. Right. Well, and what are your thoughts about that? Too much or not enough?
I think it really depended on the policy. If I remember correctly, there were some where, also we had a half-hour discussion.
Yeah.
And there were others where it was pretty much just boilerplate reporting and understand your way through. It depends on the subject matter.
Okay, I wanted your take on that because I have some information about if we want to get through all of them in 3 years, what that number would be and how many per meeting. So we'll start with reached out to WASB. Obviously, this is what they do. They have a system. They have a program called Policy Resource Guide. But again, back to their policy manual coding system, we have adopted that. So you'll see on our website, and as you know from all our board policies, we have the old ones that were like 400.11. They were different numbers. These are all 100s through 900s. And so we've adopted this. We've got through, we're about in the middle of the 300s with new, and then the 400s, 500s, 600s, 700s. All the way up. We've kind of adopted as needed, right? So we're just kind of working through it chronologically or numerically. So what WASB and the Policy Resource Guide does is this is a coding system. This next document I'll show you is these are all the policies that they have at least one sample template for, right? So the majority, not every single one, but the majority. So the work is done. And the difference between what their works and their templates and what Pam and I did, Pam and I would Google, find different things and kind of borrow, but make it our own. It wasn't necessarily legally vetted. These are legally, lawyers have looked at all of them. They're updated, they're recent. So that's the advantage of going with this. Another service the Policy Resource Guide does provide is updates. As updates come, they put them out and push them out. So I am proposing and asking for the board's approval because it's kind of like this, I think, is a board approval thing. Policy, setting policy, developing policy is one of your, two main things. Enforcing it and administering it is administration. So, Callie and I would like to commit to getting back to really tackling these so that in 3 years would be my vision. We can get through all of them and have them all updated. Policy Resource Guide subscription, as you see in your attachment, is a 3-year commitment. I believe it's $4,500 per year, it says in there. And again, includes any, we can contact them anytime. They're, that not in addition to the templates and the updating, their expertise is available for coaching and helping out with that.
You can get through a live person.
Correct. Yep.
Ben?
Ben is kind of the contact person. He's not a lawyer. Barry Forbes, for instance, is one of our lawyers. Bob Butler. They have 4 in-house lawyers. So Kelly and I did a rough count of what has to be updated yet. It was just short of 300 policies yet. So yeah, we about 8 to 10 per board meeting would get us there. Maybe you guys are like too much. Yeah. Good luck with all that. But I know in our board development, activities said, you'd like to get things ahead of time, and it's like, if we could get you these policies ahead of time, and you got the email from, I believe, Ben, you would have access to all this at any time at your disposal. We all would have passwords and be able to have access and look at it and vet it and such ahead of time. So it would involve, for efficiency, a little more homework probably between meetings. But that would, if that's, I feel it's an area we've been lacking, is like, we got a lot of policies to update and get going, and we've been at it for about 5 years now. Very hit and miss.
Running loose numbers, if you're talking 8 policies, about 4 weeks between meetings, it's 2 policies a week.
Yeah.
We really ought to be able to read, for the most part, one sheet of paper, 5 to 10 minutes.
Or less. Some are a paragraph.
Yeah.
Some are 4 pages.
I don't see that it would be an impossible task by any means, but as you say, it depends on board members doing that before.
And it'd be, 8 first reading, or however many first reading next month, they're approved. And then you also have, as part of that, is you delete the ones that they replaced. So that's, again, Callie and I would do most of the work in presenting them and formatting them in the Word format. And it's nice, you can actually, these convert right to Word as well. We were happy to see that. They have a thing you click and it's Word, and so she just has a template set up so that they match. I think it's doable. We're willing to definitely, we have weekly meetings now set on our calendar just for policy development and an hour each week. I think we can knock these out.
That's the work behind it. The easy part, if you will, would be our part. Read over 2 pieces of paper a week. It's the grunt work behind that, where you guys would be the engine driving that to put the work in. I think you guys both have a time to take that on.
Yep.
So we would read the policy at each board meeting, or at a board meeting, and
tweak it like you typically have done, say, yeah, change this a little bit, but it gives me comfort knowing that these are majority of them, not all of them. And I'll let you know which ones are not. I take that back. We would develop one, we'd send it to them, they would vet it, and then before it comes to the board for the first reading. Yeah. So some will be easy for us, like, yep, these are done. Others we'll have to develop and then have them vet.
Right.
So 8 years feels like a long time. Added for 5, so that's 3 more. I think this is better than what we were doing before, obviously. Is there a service that does it? I mean, is there a way to do it faster? I was asking, is there a way to do it faster? Is there another service? Is there some contractor that would do it?
Neola does, but the problem we've always stayed away from is it's their proprietary information then. Like, it's theirs. Like, if we can't change it without their permission, and it's very clunky, where I felt this route was more our own and we own it. But if you want to explore that, we could have Neola do a pitch, and we could have WASB take a pitch.
Is there anything where we're just getting in trouble when it needs to adapt something? It just feels like a long time.
In my 10 years here, we haven't gotten any trouble. No.
Is there an option that we have work meetings to, where we could,
we
hammer
have
through?
Policies, they're just not all updated to this
Can we
coding
hammer
system.
through a bunch of policies at a certain,
And it's not the policy that keeps us trouble, it's the administration of enforcement of it. Right? We're not misapplying it. So we're good. We're just not clean and updated.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking too, is that there's going to be a lot of that. Sorry, it's not like we're lacking the policy. It just needs to be refined or updated or policy there.
And again,
I would hate to turn all that over to somebody else.
it's clunky, right? It's board policy, but it's admin developing it and asking for your approval and then administering it.
And you said
Neola.
Neola.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to turn that over to somebody like that for now all of a sudden. They really have the control. And they shouldn't have been taking the state for years to get control locally. I wouldn't want to willingly give that up. So if you guys want to know, if we want to change, we have to come and check with you.
I remember it being very clunky, and the folks that had it were like, oh, it was the easy button, but you give up that flexibility of making it your own, keeping it your own. I just think this fits our district best. And this, other ones have those big city boards have the big ones, and they have board docs and everything super digital. And I just think, this fits more with our culture and our smaller community better.
I think if you and Callie have been going through it, probably some that we need attended to sooner rather than later. So prioritize.
And those have been done. Yep. And now I just propose this because it's kind of let's just go numerically but
It's just, I mean, they took on average almost 15 minutes when we did it before. About 15 minutes on average for the agenda per.
The policy.
Yeah, so I mean, even if you cut it in half and say you're efficient, that's 64 minutes. To 80 minutes per meeting. I'm just throwing out numbers just like so everybody gets what the commitment is, right? And say if they're 15 on average, then it's an hour and a half every board meeting. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying like that's.
Or the board could say, have the lawyers vetted this? Boom, we're good. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you're concerned with the time.
So
no matter who does it, you're gonna have to prove it.
Yeah, approve it. Like threw it on this agenda now, right? It'd be 11 o'clock.
If you chose to go through every one at the board meeting.
But I mean, that's where you have to answer the questions and stuff though, right? We can't send a bunch of questions around each other outside of this. So like any of that discussion would occur. And I'm just saying, even if it's half, it's an hour. Right, ish at 8.
Right. So what do you propose? How did we get around that?
I'm just trying to give information.
Okay.
That's all I'm trying to do because it's just David and I were the only ones in those. So it's like they're just giving everybody perspective on the time. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just when we do the agenda, it's a decent chunk.
Some will go fast, right? I mean, some you just
Well,
read
that's what
and
I'm saying.
it's.
It really depends on the policy subject matter, and if it's just kind of tweaking to replace, we've hit the major ones that we had to hit. So it said we took care of those already. If this is more the boilerplate kind of stuff, in theory, it should go more quickly. And if everybody does their homework ahead of time, reads through it and is thorough about that, and comes, I've got this and this and that policy. I have no questions at that one. And that one, I've got one question.
I could start with 8, and then when you say, hey, no, this isn't working, let's cut it back to,
Like 5 minutes.
and
40 minutes.
I can't possibly anticipate. No, I could, I mean, based on pages, but I don't know if you're going to discuss,
Right.
some policy in greater depth. I don't know. That's the hard part.
No, you can't discuss it before, right? I mean, we come in and like, they were pretty deep. That was Jeff and one policy spent like an hour and 15 minutes on it. It was like a page and a half. And maybe that was like a more controversial.
You can't discuss those outside of here?
Yeah, send notes to everybody.
I mean, you could do one-on-one, like,
You did have two
but
lawyers in that discussion.
you just because one of you, just because one says it, you can't, you could say you could give me feedback, but I can't really change anything because then you're acting alone with, that's a draft, even though it's first reading. Yeah,
I gotta imagine most of them would be.
I would think so.
Like you've already tackled, like, pointing out the stuff that like we bring up the most discussion.
Ones we had to, yeah.
I was thinking I'm gonna say double it.
There's policy and that's what we do.
Yeah.
We have to do it.
Some will be shorter,
recommit.
some will be longer.
Yeah.
Or we could just slowly do our board development. That's policy.
4 hours policy work.
there are districts that you see like board working session. I don't know what happened there. So for now, do we want to, the question is, are we going to do the subscription to the WASB policy resource?
Yeah, the agreement, tentatively had us starting December 1st. If you approve it tonight, we'll get started, but
Mhm. We do.
I put it on there we put it on there as an agenda item just because I thought policy, and if we subscribe to this subscription, I think board approval would be the way to go. It's,
I don't see why we wouldn't. To me, it seems very affordable to get professional assistance with what our main job is to set policy. And to me, that it doesn't seem exorbitant to spend the money to get that professional. Yeah. You need a motion on it, or you just
We
need
do,
yeah, go
it's a,
ahead.
let's do a,
I'd
we
make a
want to
motion.
do a motion, right?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to go ahead and go with the policy resource guide as presented on a 3-year initial subscription at $4,500 a year.
David did the first motion. I did it. Dave Bruce second. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next one is consideration of designating the WASB annual convention delegate. And Jeff is going for CISA. And so it's Josh and I think, did you volunteer?
The last time I did, yeah.
Okay.
So I can volunteer for it again.
we just need to make it, official, send them the name so that they know to send your big packet of resolutions to look at. All
So
right.
We don't need to vote. It's this consideration. Okay.
I think that would be a good one to be formed. Yeah,
Okay,
whenever it's, designation, it's board approval.
Okay, Brian made a motion. Then Josh. Second? Second by Vince. Any questions, comments? All in favor, then Josh?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries?
Yeah. Yeah, I oppose.
No. All right, moving on. Other, anything?
Just a follow up on the food. So I didn't have like a lot of information on it. So I kind of surveyed the full basketball teams before mine and after. The consensus was it was bussin', which means good for folks that don't have young kids. So it's bussin'. So they love it at the middle school, and like it's so good this year. So that was the feedback on that one. And then the other one is there any way to look at some of the calendars? I know like probably annoyed with me on that one, but like literally like the high school coaches are like, I was right after them tonight. Right. And they're kind of like rushing the end of their practice for a CPA at the end because we're butted right up to the end of every varsity practice. And but there isn't anything else. Like there isn't any other times. Like it's like elementary school blocked until 5, right? Almost every night. And I think there isn't times, and then Sundays are all booked now. And it just feels really awkward standing outside there with a bunch of little kids in varsity kind of hustling their butts off to get out of there. Doesn't feel right. I don't know.
Who takes care of that scheduling?
Tanya Cran?
Yeah, it comes through Tiny Cran in our office at the high school.
And I'm just wondering if that's better possibly meeting sorted out with Tanya and whoever.
Yeah, try. I mean, it's like my 6th time bringing it up, I think.
And what would reach resolution for you? Like what would stop you?
Just to have like a discussion around how it just in there like this year, groups booked like well in advance, right? I mean, softball booked all of their open gyms in beginning of October. Select booked all of theirs beginning of October. They booked from November all the way to May. And they booked the big gyms. And I just wonder if there would ever be any prioritization or anything like that around it. And maybe if there's nothing that can be done.
Are you asking as a board member or a parent? Like, is this a board meeting thing or is this a
I
parent?
understand, Tim.
No,
I
I'm
asked
just,
before, I get it, but did nothing happen? Howard brought it up twice. Like, I asked, he said to bring it up when I was president. And I'm just bringing it up because I was just there literally, like, with the varsity coach apologizing to me, and I'm like, you don't apologize to us. Like, that's not how this works. I'm just asking.
He just ran over, is what you're saying.
Yeah, by like 7 or 8 minutes or whatever. He was
Yeah.
apologizing to me, and I'm like, you don't apologize to us. Like, I shouldn't make you feel like you have to leave the gym.
but no, I'm just asking for clarity. Is this a board meeting? I don't know. It's your meeting. Is it discussion or is this a parent thing that we have a different, you know what I mean?
And you've dealt with her, you went in and talked with her?
This is where you got to get clarification.
I'm just bringing it up.
Because other can get real dangerous. Like,
Okay.
That would be my advice.
I guess that's what I'm wondering is if it's been tackled in that route, then it's probably something that should be put on the agenda instead of.
That's what I brought it up. That's
So
what
you
we're
wanted-
planning to bring anything up if we're going to discuss.
But is it a
So-
board related thing? That's my question. That's why I'm trying to get clarity because we can talk about it, but the board can't solve this.
Tim, you asked like others to meet with me last year.
A year ago.
Yeah, and nothing.
Well, what's nothing?
I haven't had a meeting. Like, I haven't-
What I thought we met with you at least 2, maybe 3 times.
Who?
Brian, Chance, Wendy Hoverson, right? If I recall correctly.
I never.
I don't.
I think we sat down. I don't think Wendy was there.
No, we talked about the basketball during season.
We're on the calendar side, right?
No. We talked about the basketball one during season. That was the meeting.
Is there like
So-
a administrative policy for prioritization of the
Doesn't have to happen here. It's like, I just.
gym space? Obviously, is there some sort of policy like that?
I'll let Brian answer that. He deals with the scheduling of facilities the most, probably with Tanya.
So Tanya is, I'm not trying to put this on Tanya, and Tanya is new, doing an amazing job picking up all the pieces that I missed and also being the facility scheduler for the entire district. And not being prepared for this discussion, I do have some notes and a folder of some stuff that I keep, but I think the challenge is we did a gym usage chart. Our gyms are used all the time. And so when Brian, I think when you say that you're talking about, you brought it right up to the high school coaches because their practice gets done, and yet we roll another group of people in there and another group of people. And so I think the concern comes from not the gyms being used, but who gets to use the gyms and when. I think that's the question.
This is like.
That's my question anyways.
Yeah, and so what I would be hesitant to undertake is becoming that gatekeeper of what is an in-season and gets priority of one thing versus what gets priority over the other thing and what is, because that's what in essence we're being asked to do. And that's a really challenging thing. There isn't a unicycling season in the elementary, and so I don't know how to prioritize unicycling versus CBA versus select volleyball versus softball open gym. I don't know how to prioritize what's an in-season track and field versus in-season baseball and they have to be in the gym, and that's the part I don't want to. Full disclosure, I don't know the best way to do that. I do know that there are groups that get.
That's an important thing.
They are open to schedule their facilities.
Right, so do we want to put it on an agenda? Do you want to have a meeting with Brian and Tanya? So
Since it was brought up, I mean, maybe it's something that's arranged outside of a board meeting, where
That's
the appropriate people get together and kind of try to figure out a solution for it. The solution hasn't been found yet. But I don't know if a solution.
There might not be a solution, is
I don't know if
another
a solution is
possibility.
Possible or not, but.
Well, and that's my challenge, not to start to interrupt your guys' meeting, but my challenge in discussion is I don't know the problem that we're trying to solve.
But I guess that's why I'm thinking maybe it's an offline meeting to figure out where do we best go with that? Is it something that is addressed by policy? Is it something that's been addressed in the past? Does it need to come, to you and Tanya to fix, or is it really something that needs to come to the board to set policy if there isn't policy there? But I think there has to be an offline meeting to figure out what the crux of the situation is first, and then figure out where to go from there. Just my opinion.
Okay. All right.
I agree with them. Just talk about it this one, really what the discussion is. That here.
Right, kind of point out it. Okay. Important upcoming dates. December 14th is the school board meeting at 7 p.m. in the district office. January 18th to the 20th is the WASB State Convention. January 25th, school board meeting. And February 8th is our board development meeting at 6 p.m. here. So we'll move on to commuting to the closed session.
Roll call.
Roll call.
I'll make a motion to go closed session as presented. Second.
No, go.
No, roll call.
No, roll call.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Pie now or later?
There's a pie now or later. We got pie from the North Nut.